Hello, everyone. This is your friend Dr. Faz with a new episode of Live with Dr. Faz. Today, we have a treat. I met this gentleman in 2014 in a Toastmasters club, and since then, we are good friends. He is a real financial genius. He's an author of a couple books, hard NS tags, which we are going to talk a little bit later with him. And he is the founder of Financial Freedom Investors. He's an entrepreneur. He's enjoying his life as an entrepreneur, free and clear from jobs and all that. He doesn't have to worry about to get up in the morning and sitting in the traffic. So let's talk to him and we will find out what the secret was and what we can learn from him. Please help me welcome my dear friend, Mr. J. Leigeber. Thank you, Mr. J, for joining me today.
Well, welcome to your audience, and it's a pleasure to be with you, Dr. Faz.
It's my pleasure. And Jay, I know the situation, COVID-19, everybody's confused, depressed, frustrated. So many things are going on, and suddenly we had a little bit other issues, and people are really, really confused and depressed. But let's talk about, but before we start, how you are doing in COVID-19. Everything is okay?
Yeah, I am a person who works from home, so the sheltering in place hasn't made a major impact on my life. I talk to a lot of people every day on the phone doing what I'm doing, and there are more people at home and available. So from that standpoint, it's easier. I will say that I have a wife of 44 years, and we truly enjoy going out a couple of nights a week for a nice meal. And that's when we would bond. That's when we'd get together and share what's going on with our life. And at this point, it's been months. It's not the same bringing home something to drive through. So I'm very anxious for the restaurants to open back up and start to recapture those blessed events. But other than that, I will suggest that a lot of stress and change creates opportunities for those who can perceive next steps forward. And I hope that, we share some insights from your side, from my side today, that'll help the audience out, because there are many people who are confused today. And I think that there are some huge opportunities moving forward because of what's transpired.
Oh, no, that's definitely true. And we have to avail that opportunity which we got due to whatever the reasons are. But there is always good comes out of any worst. So we have to find that good. So tell me a little bit about, just for the sake of our viewers, I know you for years,
Sure.
but our viewers would like to know, who is Jay?
So Jay is a person that's had a lot of different chapters in my life. I grew up on a blueberry farm in northern Indiana, and I went to undergraduate school. And I learned how to think in undergraduate school. I got a degree in philosophy. I spent my junior year traveling abroad, residing in Athens, Greece. And after I came back with the degree in philosophy, I knew that I needed to work and make some money before I went back to graduate school. So I bought the family blueberry farm, and I got married to my high school sweetheart that I'm still married to 44 years later. And we ran the blueberry farm for 3 years to earn money so we could both get graduate degrees. We sold the farm, we went and got our graduate degrees, and that started the next chapter, which was all about being involved, from my standpoint, in the corporate world. 35 years for consumer packaged goods companies like General Mills and Sara Lee and ConAgra, running food brands that many of the audience would have in their refrigerator or their pantries. So it was a very corporate environment and a different phase of life. Unfortunately, in the last recession, at the end of 2007, I lost my corporate career and there were no jobs to be found. And that's when I really found investing and I became entrepreneurial. And life was entirely different as an entrepreneur than it was a person in the corporate world. And so I've had a decade of success, and now I'm kind of shifting into the next chapter of my life, but we can get to that.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about from this transition from corporate life to as an entrepreneur. Uh, how difficult was that?
It was very tough because my mindset, when you have been doing something for over 3 decades
Hmm.
and you've been successful, a dozen of those years I was at the vice president of marketing level, running big brands, having big budgets, large staffs of people reporting to me. And when that gets taken away, not from your desires, but out of your control, and your
Hmm.
whole self identity is locked up in that. I spent nearly 3 years trying to find the next role as a corporate marketing executive,
Hmm.
and it just didn't happen. And during that time, I started reading a lot. I read books by Robert Kiyosaki and many others, but that really opened a new world to me. And the world of investing became a challenge to prove that I could step beyond that which I knew into an entirely different environment and
Hmm.
find success there.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to read your first book.
So, in that endeavor, I've flipped houses, I've built a portfolio of rental properties, but primarily I've raised a lot of capital and done a lot of private lending to
Mhm.
other people who invest in the real estate world. And along that route, in that journey, as I was learning so much, that's when I chose to write the two books that you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first book I read it, but second I didn't get a
Dr.
chance.
Faz, I'm having difficulty hearing you.
Uh, you can hear me?
Can you hear me
Yeah,
fine?
yeah, I can hear clean and clear. Uh, yeah, can you hear me? Because on my end, let me check my
I
mic.
don't know what to say. I can't hear your
No,
question.
no, give me 1 second. Let me check again my mic. Yeah, mic is working. I believe it. Is there anything on your end?
It's coming in and out. I hear a short burst of sound, but nothing continuous.
Yeah, because it's showing perfectly here. I just checked my microphone too. So let's see. Now you can hear me? Can you? No? Let me see. Okay. I don't see.
Perhaps it's at my end, but I
Yeah,
don't believe
because
so.
I see everything clean and clear. All the positives are here, pluses. So it must be on your end. Maybe you have a headphone or something. You don't use the hands free. Must be because on my end it's very clear. Okay, I think that because maybe you don't have the headphone. Because on my end everything is right here. I just checked it.
I can't.
Hmm. Oh. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Because all the viewers are listening, both of us. They tell that we can. Yeah, they are listening, both of us. Must be Jay. If you have a headphone or something to plug in your computer, I believe. Because I can hear you very clean and clear, and viewers are also not pretty clear. Hmm. Okay. Can you hear now?
Try taking your earbuds out. Take the mic out. Just see if.
Now you can hear me? Let me take.
Just unplug it from your computer, Dr. Faz. Try that.
Can you hear me now?
No, I'm not hearing. I'm not hearing anything.
Yeah, because I just pulled out my microphone. Right. Now you can.
I get momentary crackle like a electrical connection, but I'm not hearing your words.
Yeah, because I have a full voice here and also clear voice of yours.
You want to just try and reboot?
Yeah, I can. Give me one moment. I'll go out and come back. Mhm. Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so maybe we had to come back in the okay studio. All right, sorry for that. Yeah, these technology. I'm from old school.
Hey, technology is a wonderful thing when it works.
Yeah,
And for most people, it's intuitive and we don't understand how it
yeah,
works.
yeah,
So we don't understand why it doesn't when it
yeah,
stops.
yeah. And we are actually from old school too. I mean, not like these young kids.
That's absolutely
Yeah,
true.
so I'm trying to learn as much as I could. Okay, so we were discussing about the book which you wrote, the first one, The Harder Working Money.
Mhm.
So my first question is, why did you choose that industry, investment and finance?
It was strictly because of reading Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Hmm.
When you are a primary breadwinner for your family
Hmm.
and you're not bringing home any bread
Hmm.
year after year, the concept of a passive income flow that just can't be stopped, it keeps cascading toward you, is a very, impressive concept. And I saw that it was something that could be done. And it could be done here in the Philadelphia area where I live. And
Hmm.
so I had been a saver. So, in spite being out of work
Hmm.
and not having income coming in, we had some savings that I could use to invest. And
Hmm.
so I got some good training in the area and I started becoming more successful in that area. But it was all about using leverage. To me, the whole concept of liberty comes from using leverage. You can leverage other people's money, you can leverage other people's time, you can leverage other people's relationships or their knowledge. But it's when you leverage other people, you get an asymmetrical return. You get more return and less risk.
Hmm.
And that's what gets you ahead. So when you're in a position of trying to create something new, I always look for leverage.
Okay, so how smart you have to be to get into that type of investment?
Well, so it depends on what role you want to play. I'll be honest. I am not a contractor. I
Hmm.
am not a person who understands taking a house apart and putting it back together all new again.
Hmm.
And there have been several instances throughout my career in real estate
Hmm.
where other people who knew more than I did used to advantage and took some disadvantage of me.
Hmm.
And so you have to be careful for what role you're playing. But when you find the right people who have the right knowledge or the right relationships,
Hmm.
it's always been my philosophy that of the three primary points of leverage, forms of capital,
Hmm.
you need two out of the three and you're safe.
Hmm.
Those three are money, or knowledge or relationships. If you only have the money
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know the right people and you don't have the right knowledge, someone else will end up with your money.
Yeah.
If you have the right knowledge, but you don't have the money or the relationships, you'll sit on the sidelines and never get into deals that you know are good deals. You just can't participate. And if you have 2 out of the 3, you can always capture the third. If you have a great deal and you have the knowledge of how to create value, and you have the right relationships of people that can create that value, you can always find the money. Or alternatively, if you have the money in the deal, you can always find the right people to execute it. So 2 out of 3 is table stakes. You
Yeah.
have more choices when you have all 3 out of 3.
Yeah. And your second book was the continuation of the first book, or it was a little different?
Yeah, the second book I called Never-Ending Nest Eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And the purpose of that was how to create a never-ending flow of this cash flow to you.
Mm-hmm.
The first book, Harder Working Money, is how to do a deal, how to use money and relationships and knowledge
Mm-hmm.
to create value. But when you can create a system and create that flow that goes again and again and again, you know, I own a 34-unit apartment building and a 6-plex and a couple of houses. And every month, the beginning of the month, that rental income comes in, expenses get deducted out, but I generate cash flow off of that. And it's for work that I did once, you get a residual result. It comes again and again and again. And there are many advanced areas of the area of finance that people can take advantage of that go beyond just the simple real estate deal, whether that is a concept of infinite banking or ways to pay down a mortgage earlier. And when I was learning those concepts, I just felt it was important to share them with a broader audience. So that was the second book.
Awesome. Yeah. So this is the company which you are the founder of, Financial Freedom Investors.
Yeah, it was, you know, the primary role that I've had over the last decade is in raising capital for short-term private loans for people that flip houses. And so these books were meant to build authority and credibility with people that I was trying to build a relationship with, so they would trust me and want to be involved in the deals. And so that was one of the purposes for reading the books. It was also simply the case of giving back. I invested very heavily, personally, in the education that I got. And I knew a lot of people couldn't afford many of those courses at $5,000 or $10,000 for participation to learn something specific. But I found my way of giving it back to a broader audience was just through a book.
Nice. That's a great way, actually. And this is always a people can learn. It's the easiest way and cheapest way for them.
Right.
Unless the problem is people just are not in reading that much.
Well, I think that the primary issue is that most people don't get to the phase of applying it. All of the value creation comes not in what you know, but what in you apply. And if you just spend all of your time learning, then you're never creating value in itself. You're just, it becomes entertainment rather than something that you can leverage. But when you have knowledge and you can apply it and you can create value for other people, that's how you get ahead.
Yeah, most of the time people get stuck with an expensive hobby rather than utilizing those. But anyway, so tell me a little bit about your, you are also part of a multi-level marketing.
That's correct. And actually, I have just shifted in that. It's, once again, it comes back to leverage. How can you help many people, but not do all the work yourself? I have a philosophy that I like to try to engage people in, which is all about generating more life with less work. I personally don't admire people who go out and they put in 80, 100 hours a week trying to get ahead. Because to me, that's just a misappropriation of how they should be using their time. When you can create systems, systems create wealth. And the thing that I love about the direct marketing of programs to other people with compensation programs that can pay you off of the efforts of other people, you're generating leverage. And I have found a way to do that in the wellness area with products that many consumers are very interested in today. You know, we're going to talk about the impact of the pandemic and what's going on in people's lives. And what I can certainly say is there are more people focused on health and wellness today and more focused on having a home environment that is safe and clean and not full of chemicals and a lot of things that have an impact on health. And the traditional products that most people are buying at the grocery store or at a Walmart store, unfortunately, they contain a lot of toxins in it. And it's just, you know, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of preservatives and all these things they combine. And obviously, you don't get the quality, and they are not organic. So they all, even if they claim I don't trust, yeah, believe me, sometimes they do, but again, I mean, and that definitely ruins your immunity system in your body because you don't get the right food, meals, and right food. So, yeah, go ahead.
You know, I was just going to say, in every area in life, there are good and there are bad. There are people that want to help you, and there are people that want to take advantage of you. And that's just a fact of life. And you get ahead in life as you begin to discriminate between who are the people that are the givers that really have your best efforts in heart. And that's how I have found a way to get ahead is, you know, when I was in the corporate world, as I brought more ideas to the table, the responsibilities that they gave me increased as I helped other people in the organization grow to higher levels of responsibility. It's no different than today as I'm building a distribution team to get these products exposed to a broader audience out there. You generate value. So it all comes back to a question every morning I ask, you know, who is it that I can help? And how is it that I can help them accomplish their goals? Because I realize when I'm helpful in other people getting their goals, that goodness flows back to me. And so it's not just about personal gain. It's about making the world a better place. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate your perspective, Dr. Faz. You have such a breadth of experiences over your life, and yet you're always finding ways to give back, to help other people. And I just believe that those of us that can do more in that area, we make the place a better place to live. And for future generations, that's what's important.
Yeah, no, that's a duty of us. I mean, we have to, if we feel it in that way, but I feel myself too, and I try my level best. But tell me a little bit about how was this COVID-19? Yeah.
So, you know, from the standpoint that I am running a home-based business, because I've had to remain at home, it hasn't made a major impact. In fact, I spend a lot of time each day talking to other people. And since most people are not out doing their regular jobs, I've found it easier to connect with people. And that's been a blessing. But what I also say is that I'm 66 years old. I have never experienced the feeling of stress in the general population that I'm experiencing today. An unknown thing came to us that we were ill prepared for. And government responded in a very big way. And perhaps that was very appropriate at the beginning. But it doesn't seem that there is as much energy behind getting us back to work and getting back to a normal type of a life as I would like to see. I believe that there is probably going to be more damage done economically by the shutdown of the government and how long it's lasted. I'm fearful for how many people are going to be losing cars or homes because they haven't been able to pay for them, and they haven't been able to pay for them because they can't go to their job. And, you know, the government has programs and all, but when it takes months and months to get some of those benefits in your pocket, you know, there are bills that are going unpaid. And America has been an entrepreneurial spirit, and so many small businesses and creative ideas have come to the marketplace because we are innovative and ambitious people. And it's such a shame that you begin to question how many of the small businesses that won't be making it in the long term because of this significant impact of the lack of revenue, and yet ongoing overhead and expenses continue. And it's a fact of the matter. But there again, with every change comes opportunity. So the question is, what can we learn from the situation? What can we do to move forward in our lives so we're helpful in creating new solutions and new opportunities for the way people are going to respond in the future? Let me just give you an example. I would hate to be a person, well, I love real estate. I would hate to be a person that owned a lot of office space or small retail space moving forward. Because what's happened over the last 3 months, people have begun to realize that much like we're online right now, you can get business done virtually. You don't have to travel as much. We don't need to have caverns with all these cubicles in it, and everybody goes through the lengthy commutes to get into a centralized office building just so they can sit there in a cube and work all day. There are better solutions. And unfortunately, there's a lot of retail that simply isn't going to be around in the future. More people are getting accustomed to having things delivered to their home. And you can't unwind the clock. What I believe is the case is that there is a progression that naturally occurs as technology takes over. But when there's something big that happens, like this COVID, that causes behaviors to change in an instant, all of a sudden the transition to a new phase happens that much quicker. And so I think that there is going to be, we don't know, no one knows how quickly our economy will get back to normal, whatever that means, or what people's lives will be like moving forward. But I certainly don't expect there to be all the travel the same way that there was pre-COVID. And I think that's why you see airlines having troubles. You know, the car rental companies are going bankrupt. It's just a formative change that's compressing years of change into months.
Yeah, definitely there will be change in the norms. There will be new norms post-COVID. We are not going to see again December 2019 the way we were. There will be a lot of changes. So tell me a little bit about how future may change post-sheltering in place.
You know, I think that there are more people that are going to be open to the concept of multiple streams of income in the future. So many people lived with the paradigm that I had for the first chapter of my life, which was you got a great education, you get a good job, and your life will be good, you know? And then all of a sudden I discovered there wasn't anything that I did wrong that ended my corporate career. It was just we had a major recession and there was a lot of downsizing going on. And when you're a person that's at the older edge of the age spectrum, it's really tough to get jobs. How many people are not going to go back to a job that they had just a few months ago, not because of anything that they did? And so we all want safety and security. But what the wealthy have always known is that when you have multiple streams of income, when you own assets that generate cash flow, or when you have multiple different businesses that you are involved in that are each creating a stream of income, you get into a position. I remember they were talking to Virgin Airlines.
The Virgin Atlantic, maybe.
Yeah. So, and they were saying, you know, you've had 3 businesses that have failed. What's that done to you? And Branson is his name. And he said, but I've had 57 others that went just fine. So thank you very much, you know?
Russell,
And when you're in a position where you have a lot of options, so it becomes a question of mindset. When people begin to think more broadly and they begin to think about how can they generate multiple streams of income. If you have capital to invest, it's easy. Like I started out, Go out, get some real estate, get that cash flow coming in. When you're not in a position of buying cash flow, then you need to create it. And so you can get involved in things like I'm doing in the business, entrepreneurial types of businesses like I am right now with this digital online store for wellness products that is very involved with creating cash flow and streams of residual income for many people.
Yeah. So just for the sake of our viewers, how much capital involves in opening up like that kind of a store?
So, absolutely none at all. It is totally on the basis of your time
Mhm.
in the particular opportunity. Now, there are some, where they're looking for a more marginal amount, under $2,000 kind of a thing. But in the business opportunity that I'm involved with at the moment, there is zero capital involvement at all.
Wow. And how much time does it need?
This is something that the amount of time that you put in will determine when you reach that level of success that you're looking for.
Mhm.
Virtually anyone can do this on a part-time basis and
Mhm.
get significant results. Money that will pay for car payments and pay for house payments within a year plus, on a recurring basis with as little as, 8-10 hours a week. And it just, people who put in more, currently I'm putting in more. My wife and I are looking forward to doing more traveling. We're, in the mid 60s, and there are many places that we want to go and
Mhm.
things that we want to do. And it's just a question of getting to the result quicker.
Yeah. So definitely, I get this question all the time for anything. How long is it going to take? I said, that's not the question you should be asking. You should be asking me how far I can go.
Absolutely. And,
So
and the thing about being an entrepreneur is, as comparison to an employee, when you are an employee, you are trading time for money.
yeah.
And the opportunity for your earnings is capped, depending on the skills that you have. And yes, if you're a brain surgeon, you earn more than if you're a checkout clerk at the store, right?
Yeah.
But even if you're a brain surgeon, there's only a limited number of brains you can operate
Of
on,
course. Yeah.
And if you are building systems
Hmm.
that generate recurring income streams, or if you're building a real estate portfolio because you have
Hmm.
access to a lot of capital, it's
Hmm.
unlimited how many different locations that you can have or streams of income that you can have. And as you have more and more streams of income, then there is less and less risk in your
Hmm.
life.
I have to ask this question because you're the right person to ask. How do you define and how do you explain what is entrepreneur?
Entrepreneur is just a different value system. It's a different priority. If you're looking for perceived security, you're looking for that recurring paycheck
Mhm.
that is going to come because you do what someone has asked you to do. And
Mhm.
as long as you do it reasonably well, you won't get fired unless something significant occurs, like when the recession occurred. And so you have the opportunity in a contractual way
Mhm.
to earn a given amount of money. But if you prioritize liberty over security,
Mhm.
so if you want to be in a position where your efforts will determine whether you make $100,000 a year or $500,000 a year or $5 million a year, that's totally up to you. It's totally dependent on the productivity that you have. All of a sudden, you're in a different value system. Entrepreneurs realize that the way we create value is by solving somebody else's problem. And the world is full of problems.
So,
Everybody that you talk to will talk to you about things they wish were different in their
mhm.
lives. And people who come up with solutions, just take this particular platform that we're on. We're on a Facebook Live. We're using some technology that enables us communicate. This isn't an expense to us. We're putting in time, but we're creating value. How is that value monetized? Well, it's monetized in a few ways. One way is that the audience gains value from it, and to the degree they get an insight and they start to apply it in their life, they get value. From Facebook's standpoint, it gets advertising dollars. The more time you spend on Facebook watching, more ad revenue that they give. So they're prioritizing people like you, Dr. Faz, that put a lot of content up. They will show your videos to more people because, and that's all driven by the entrepreneurialism that capitalism works. When you create more value, there's more of that activity that occurs and more people get benefit from it.
Yeah, because a lot of time people have this misunderstanding that I own a business, so I'm an entrepreneur. And I usually tell them that every entrepreneur has a business, but every business owner is not an entrepreneur. Keep in mind.
I'm fully aligned with that. And part of the question is, do you have a system that creates value without you?
Yeah.
If you are in a business, if you own a business where you can't go away for 3 weeks and have things continue to run and to come back and have earnings that you were not involved with creating, you don't own the business. The business owns you.
Correct.
And part of the business that I'm involved in is being a solopreneur. It's totally dependent on what I do. And that's why I'm trying to transition from some of the activity that I have with the private lending and real estate into this entrepreneurial activity of building a distribution system for these wellness products that I can get paid on again and again and again and again, no matter where I am in the world. If consumers continue to buy product, I will continue to get a commission on the sale of those products. So it all comes back to this issue of leverage.
No, definitely. I mean, it's a very proven system if people want to get, but yeah, it takes a lot of work, but once you get in, there's a system already built.
And I would also add that if you try to invent everything on your own, the odds are 97% or something of businesses fail. And they don't necessarily fail because there wasn't a good solution to a problem. It's just businesses can become very complex things. And that's the reason why when you get involved with something that has the characteristics of a franchise. What is a franchise? A franchise is a proven system that works. And whenever you go to a franchise location, you can depend on what the service is and what the product is. When you got involved with leadership training through John Maxwell, that was a proven system. So you weren't inheriting a lot of new risk that you would have had if you would have gone out and just tried to do it on your own. You stepped into a system and you became entrepreneurial. You own your business and it's up to you to go out and get a clientele to serve, but it's very helpful. That's the same thing with the types of businesses that I'm involved with latching on to a company. The company that manufactures all the product that I'm involved with distributing is like a fulfillment center. They do all of the hard work. All I have to do is find consumers who are interested in looking into it. But even then, I just send them to a website and they handle everything from there. I never touch the products. But if I capture your imagination and your desire for some of these products, all of a sudden I can start to generate a revenue stream because I was the one that introduced you to it. And it's simple math. Some companies, if you take P&G as just as an example, one of the largest consumer packaged goods companies, $60-some billion a year in sales. You know, the way that they generate their revenues is because they are distributed in virtually every store in America. If you go in convenience stores or grocery stores, if you go into the Walmarts of the world, the shelves are lined with P&G products. And then P&G pays a bunch of celebrities and they do advertising, and that creates a demand for the product. If you are trying to go against P&G and play their game, you will find that you're going to lose. They have dominant market shares because they are better than everybody else in what they sell. So the company that I'm involved with takes an entirely different approach. They say, we're not going to be in all the stores competing for shelf space with P&G. We're going to go directly to the consumer on a website. We're going to captivate the consumer's interest and attention because they have all natural products. They have products without the chemicals in it that P&G puts in. And so it's a different audience that has interest in it. But the only place that you can buy the products that I'm involved with distributing are on the website through the online shopping club. So we don't compare at all. Our prices are about the same as if you'd go to your local grocery store. But rather than spending all of the money for the distribution, for the stores, for the margins, for the advertising, we simply put some better ingredients in the product, and we end up paying a nice commission to the people who do the role that I'm playing in generating customers, and it works. It's a win-win for everyone.
Well, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's a successful business, and I can see you, the way you grew in that business. So tell me a little bit about what 3 best skills people should have.
3
Skills.
More than anything, the first thing is you need to be able to communicate ideas to other people. To get ahead in anything that you want, to live the lifestyle that you want, you have to be able to serve other people, because that's how value is created. And the only way that we can serve other people is to understand their needs and then communicate with them about ourselves and about our offering in a way that they trust us and they see the same value that we perceive in it. So the ability to communicate, I think, is more important than most things. A second skill involves just the technical ability to deliver that process. Everything that creates value is involved in some type of a system. If you're an employee for the company, you are one piece of that value creation. You have skills that you are providing for the company so it can deliver the product. If you're more entrepreneurial, you're using your skills for your own benefit in creating that value. And you get the full value as an entrepreneur when you're responsible for your own results. And if you don't produce the results, you don't get any compensation. So that skill development piece of whatever it is that you're involved in. When I'm involved with real estate transactions, I need to understand real estate fairly well to be able to find deals, to be able to see in deals things others can't see and ways to create more value than others. So I have an opportunity of more deals to select from. And so that would be a second area. And I think that the last area that I would just characterize as in personal relationships, we don't do anything as a solo individual. We're all dependent on other people. And unfortunately, when you go to school, they don't teach you how to be a good teammate, how to be a good parent, how to be a good person in a work environment to help collaborate together and work toward a common goal. And I think that there is so much time and effort that is just wasted because people have not learned common courtesies. They don't collaborate the right way with other people. And that's some of the things that you teach organizations through your leadership programs. Is how is it that you can be a responsible part of a team? No one can build teams that isn't a member, a contributing member of a team. So you have to take on that understanding that you are playing a piece in a larger whole. And when you create synergy through collaboration, the results are bigger. That creates lifestyles that are better. And quite frankly, it creates more enjoyment in the journey. We're all involved in a grind. There are daily activities that we all have to do to fulfill our role in whatever we've chosen that role to be. And everything that we have to do isn't necessarily fun. But if we decide that we're going to be happy about it, that we're pleased with the path that we have chosen, we can show up and do that grind with pleasure in our heart, with a believer's heart that we're helping serve other people in an important way. And that's why I bound out of bed in the morning anxious to be able to go out and help other people.
Of course. Yeah. And do you read books? I know you are a good reader.
Unfortunately, Dr. Faz, you're talking and I can't hear you.
I
And
mean,
we're back to that.
like, oh my God, you can't hear me again? Mm,
I don't know what to say.
all right. Oh, what is
You back?
Yeah.
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, it's something. It's I have to get in again. Yeah, that's a technology. One day we'll be okay. So I was asking you because I know you're a good reader. So can you suggest three great books which you feel people should read?
Well, the first book by far that's had the most impact on my life is Think and Grow Rich.
Wow.
Think and Grow Rich taught me about the subconscious mind and an understanding that it's my subconscious mind that is making all of the decisions. It creates my automatic behaviors. And it's important to learn how to be a self-directed thinker in your
Hmm.
conscious mind, to be able to align your subconscious mind
Hmm.
in the ways that will help fulfill your purpose and your desires. I have been in several masterminds on Think and Grow Rich. I have probably read it 15 times now. I will
Wow.
read it another 10 or 15 times in my life. I just continuously go through it. Every review, I learn something new in that process. And so that by far is number one. The second I would talk about is the book that changed my life from a career standpoint and into the entrepreneurial journey, and that's Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Word.
Unfortunately, in our education system, we do not teach financial literacy,
Hmm.
and I think that everybody is dependent upon how can they create more value. And when you begin to learn from someone like Robert Kiyosaki, whether it's his cash flow quadrant book or Rich Dad Poor Dad, you learn about the different values of a person who's an employee or a sole proprietor versus people who run systems in businesses or run capital as an investor. And it changed the paradigm that I have in that area. And so, that would be a second book. And, for a third book, there's just hundreds of others that I have enjoyed and read. As a Man Thinketh, 3 Feet from Gold. But I would say if you can master from a execution standpoint, the Rich Dad Poor Dad and financial literacy, and you can understand the subconscious mind with Think and Grow Rich. And obviously, we're dealing with a variety of people who have different religious beliefs.
Hmm.
I don't try to pick one over another, but I do believe that spirituality is a very critical aspect. So whatever the religion is that you choose to believe in, or if you're just an independent thinker, I do believe that you need to have your spiritual core
Hmm.
fulfilled on a regular basis. And so select your book in that area and it would be a good addition.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in all these specifically, I just finished a teaching that the Think and Grow Rich in Urdu
Mhm.
language for Pakistani friends, and a lot of people they had a good time. And now I will be starting another 15 invaluable laws of growth
Mhm.
from coming probably coming Friday. We will be starting a mastermind. So this is going to be a first mastermind with the Pakistani in Urdu. So that's going to be a new journey for me. I'm going to take care of that.
You will
But
recall that I attended one of your masterminds on that John Maxwell book.
mm, yeah, so I mean, this is a good way to learn, and specifically while we are confined to our homes because of this COVID-19, so it's better to sit and do virtual masterminds so we can learn together and we can grow together.
You know, I think there's a good question everyone should be asking themselves. Life, to some degree, has been put on pause for the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is, how are you growing given this time? You
Mm-hmm.
know, unfortunately, there are so many people that are just binge watching old television shows for entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But each of us who has stepped forward and said, there are skills that I need to build, there's new things that I need to learn. How am I going to advance my
Mm-hmm.
business or my path in life such that I can live the type of lifestyle I choose?
Mm-hmm.
That responsibility that you get ahead in life. And I hope most people can look at this time and say, gee, values have been an important part of this process. It's just kind of a joke. You know, I used to say, boy, didn't we wish that our weekends were longer and our work weeks were shorter.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know, for the last 2 months, our life has been a long weekend because we can't, you know, go to work. We
Oh,
can't do
yeah.
our regular things. And
Mm-hmm.
how's that working out for us? And we're at a point, unfortunately, where the stress level is high. People are ready to get out and to do things productively again. They're tired of being constrained and find a productive release of that energy. Unfortunately, we're seeing on the streets, you know, some people are using
Yeah.
irresponsible means, but I don't want to get into politics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I said these are everywhere around the globe. Wherever you go, you have a very little fraction of people who are always like that, and it happens. But that's okay. It's part of the game.
Well, one of the things we know is that people who have spent time listening to this today, they're trying to learn, they're trying to improve themselves in some way. And
Yes.
so I applaud each of you who hears this for spending the time. Hopefully, we've delivered some value. Hopefully, you have heard a nugget of information that will cause you to look into something, that will
Mhm.
cause you to take some action that you wouldn't have taken otherwise. And if that's the case, then it's been a time well spent.
Yes. Oh no, absolutely. And again, it's going to be available on YouTube and Facebook and people because it's almost like close to midnight in Pakistan.
For sure.
Yeah. So they are 9 hours ahead of us.
Well, thank you for not scheduling this to be live because at the middle of the night, my conversation wouldn't have been so lucid.
Yeah, no. So that's why but that's how it happens if, because of their time difference. Next morning, I wake up, I see how many hundreds of people were watching that, which makes my worthwhile these shows, so they can learn something and they can be aware of what's going on around the world, and especially the expert like yourself, they can learn firsthand rather than just reading a book. So I definitely learn always when I talk to you, and obviously they definitely had some good information. So I want to thank you for joining me today,
Well, I
and
appreciate the opportunity, Dr. Faz.
I hope we are going to connect again as long as you are in the area and I'm in the area. So we will be discussing some different topic.
That's
So
wonderful.
yeah, so just be safe, stay healthy, be positive. Thanks for joining. I truly appreciate. Thank you, viewers, for joining us. Hope you find some good nuggets out of Jay. Jay is a great guy, and he has a lot and lot of information. If you would like to know more, you can reach out to me, or you can read both the books, which are in my. They are on Amazon, correct?
They're on Amazon as well. I'd just say I'm very active on LinkedIn and on Facebook.
Yeah,
You have the name in the title,
yeah.
and just look me up on one of those avenues, and I'd love to help anybody that I could.
Thank you very much, and just stay safe, healthy, and positive. Thanks for joining me, and now I'll take off. Thank you. Thank you.